to the In the Saddle podcast. I'm Noah Porter, filling in for Nate Jones. Alongside me, Caleb Rutherford. We had a busy weekend in Mount Mercy Athletics, with teams going 5-0 on the weekend between Friday and Sunday. Caleb, why don't you start it off with women's volleyball?
Mustang Volleyball kicked off the weekend at the USF Big Dogs Classic in Illinois, starting off with a win against host St. Francis Friday night. Mary Kay Bedlagi led the team with 21 kills while hitting nearly 300 in the match. The duo of Delaney Roden and Maddie Marcourt each tallied 19 assists in the match. The Mustangs also tallied 13 service aces in the match, led by Marcourt with 4. Saturday morning saw the Mustangs sweep St. Xavier, who is receiving votes in the preseason NAIA coaches poll. Marcourt led the team with 22 assists, while Brooke Ellison had 4 service aces. The final game of the weekend saw the Mustangs handle Georgetown with a balanced attack. On offense, Marcourt would lead the way with 5 service aces.
Let's transition to the pitch, where both Mustang soccer teams came out victorious. The women started the weekend against Briarcliff at Hadsach Field, coming out on top 2-1. The Mustangs jumped out to an early lead in the first half as Renata Bernal Martinez scored the opener off an assist from Savannah Stout. From there, Brielle Bastion converted from the penalty spot to increase the lead to 2. Briarcliff would later get on the board in the second half, but it wouldn't matter as the Mustangs stayed unbeaten, holding on. On the men's side, the Mustangs came out on top against Dakota Wesleyan, taking down the Tigers by a score of 2-1. Dakota Wesleyan would score first, but a 2-goal performance from Pablo Ortega Herreros would lead the Mustangs' comeback to stay unbeaten.
Coming up this weekend, men's golf opens the season at Hunters Ridge Golf Course for the Mustangs Fall Championship on Wednesday and Thursday, while men's soccer takes on Viterbo at Hadsach Field at 7 on Wednesday. Friday, August 29th, women's soccer takes on Trinity Christian Friday night in Illinois. On Saturday, women's golf opens the year at the Cohawk Invite in Cedar Falls, when men's soccer travels to Davenport to take on St. Ambrose.
Now, it's time to sit down with head cross-country coach Jeff Barker as he recaps last season's championship campaign as well as looking ahead to this season. Coming up on Thursday, we sit down with head football coach M.D. Daniels as he looks ahead to the program's first campaign as well as looking ahead to 2026. Now, here's head cross-country coach Jeff Barker.
Welcome back to the In the Saddle podcast, a Mount Mercy sports athletic podcast. Today we're joined by Jeff Barker. He's the head men's and women's cross-country coach and assistant track coach. I think is also part of your title, right? Mm-hmm. Cool. Thanks for joining us, Coach. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us with the season starting real soon here. And I'm Nate Jones. This is Caleb Rutherford, your host. Caleb?
Start with, if you can just let us know a little bit about your journey as a cross-country coach and how you came to be here at Mount Mercy.
Yeah, so I started coaching in college in 2005. I don't know were you guys born yet?
3 years old.
Yes.
3 years old. 3 years old. So yeah, started coaching in 2005 at Calumet College of St. Joe's, small school, Northwest Indiana, Chicago area. Started the program from scratch. I was coaching high school a little bit before then, so got hired there. Started the program from scratch in like 2-3 months. And had a season, had a full team on both sides, had a female national qualifier that year. And then I was part-time in the position. I worked another full-time job within the school being coordinator of student support services. So obviously wanted to get into full-time coaching. So after a couple of years there, went to Kansas Wesleyan, was the head cross-country track coach. Was there for a while, then wanted to get back more Midwest because of family. Eventually worked my way up to University of St. Francis in 2012. Coached there for 11 years prior to coming to Mount Mercy. Had some success there. Won 2 national championships, one with the women, one with the men. Had 11 top 4 finishes in the country, so 11 team trophies. I think 6 for men's cross country, 4 for women, and then 1 in track, in women's track as well. So. A lot of success there, a lot of fun throughout the years. And then, coming here to Mount Mercy was definitely a really positive, strong move for myself, for family. It seems like a really great fit so far. Excited to be starting a third year especially after last year. We had a lot of success in cross country, winning both men's and women's cross country titles when we probably shouldn't have. But the athletes did a great job all year, and we were running our best at the right time.
For sure. No, that was a fantastic season last year. Do you want to give us just like a recap of last season and how both teams won and like kind of what led to the championship?
Yeah. So cross country is interesting that you don't have that many meets. You usually have 4 or 5 regular season meets. You could have more, but you space it out for training. Your regular season, it matters for rankings and so forth. But if you go to the conference meet, you could lose every meet. You can go to the conference meet, you win the conference meet, you go to the national championships. Now, outside of that, it's being ranked for at-large bursts and things like that. So our women's team, we started out pretty strong last year. We beat some ranked teams early on, or ran really close to them. So we did get nationally ranked, and I think we were top 20 a couple times, like 18 to 20. We kind of stayed in the top 25 after the first few weeks. So there's a little bit of pressure there, but I don't think we were the favorites because Benedictine was the champion the last couple of years, and we had never beaten them. And even prior to the conference meet, the meet before, we lost to them. So we definitely weren't the favorites, but we came out that day and obviously ran our best race of the year. I think pretty much every girl PR'd in our top 5. So we did a great job dominating and running great on our home course, and they were fantastic. So they did a great job. And then, last year our guys at this time coming in August were not very good. We didn't have all the pieces of the puzzle there, but the guys were very good at being patient, trusting the process, and in order for us to win the conference or even make the national meet, it was going to come down to the end of the year because we needed every week, every day, to build upon our training, get all our guys healthy, because they weren't necessarily healthy coming into the season, and we were able to do that, and we were pretty perfect coming into that meet, especially I think we were losing the meet with less than a mile ago, and then all of a sudden we really turned it on, and we were able to pull off the victory. So that was very, very exciting, and definitely a lot of momentum that has built into this year, and creating a lot of hopefully great opportunities for them this fall to hopefully repeat.
Yeah.
For sure.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience at St. Francis and how that helped you prepare your transition to Mount Mercy?
Yeah, no, I mean that was, it seemed like I was there for a long time. 11 years is a long time, and I was the head cross country, head track coach, did everything. Probably carried a roster from 60 to 80 to 90 at different times. So similar to Mount Mercy. But just being in charge of everything, where right now it's kind of separate. Coach Shekel, myself, and Jerry, so a lot more support. But yeah, no, that was a great time, great experience, especially when I was young, with building that program. When I took that program over, it was pretty much all distance running. I think that we had 30 men distance runners and about 25 women, and we had a couple throwers. When I say a couple, maybe 4 or 5, and then maybe 10 sprinters or so. And so the whole goal when I took over that program was to transform it into a track program too. And we did that. We kind of took away some of the distance, shifted our monies around to create throwers, the throwing culture, the sprinting culture, got some assistants along the way that were really loyal and good for a long period of time, and we were able to develop that side. So that was really fun and rewarding. Especially, when I was there, we had throwers, and you guys would be excited about this, that were national champions, All-Americans, things like that. So we had a really good throws coach, a lot of success on that end. We had a first national champion was a 400-meter girl. That was super exciting. So there was a lot of firsts in building that program, and that program was unique that it was restarted. So in 2007, there wasn't even a men's cross-country program there. So it was a newly formed program. So yeah, it was really good. A lot of success, a lot of fun, and a lot of hard work that went into it to get, I don't know how many conference championships. I think we might have had 25 when I was there.
Wow.
Between cross country, indoor, outdoor, and all that, and then with 11 team trophies, and between cross country and track. And the men's, I think one neat thing, the men's cross country team never finished out of the top 10 in the country when I was there. So that was really exciting. And the women's team wasn't even going to nationals in cross country. And we went my first year, and then we made it every year and built upon that, finishing back in the 20s all the way up after about 7 years or so to finally trophying like 4 years in a row the last year I was there. So that was, there's so many different stories and avenues to go with it, but there was a lot of fun, a lot of success, a lot of good memories. But turning the page, coming here is also very exciting to kind of try to do the same thing here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure. What were some of the challenges like coming to Mount Mercy, taking on a new program like?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think the biggest challenge is the previous coach had left in the middle of the year. So, Coach Shekel was left with dealing with everything, and it's a lot to deal with when you're overseeing everything. So there was good help in place, but not full-time help. So developing a culture where they're used to working hard, used to winning, and being athlete-centered. I think athlete-centered is a really big thing. So you come in as a new coach. Yeah, there's a lot of success I just talked about, but there's a lot of stories that go behind that. So there's a lot of character building, athlete-centered things that take place where, everyone's different in our sport, but we have to gel them together to have a team culture too. So dealing with everybody one-on-one and getting them to buy in, to work hard, not only for you as a coach, but for their teammates, right? If you believe in your teammates, you're going to work harder for your teammates. It's about having that sisterhood if you're on the ladies' team, or brotherhood if you're on a men's team, where you'll do anything for each other. It doesn't mean you always like each other or you hang out together, but when you go to battle, when you go to war, you're going to work really hard for each other. Or when your character's ever tested outside of practice in terms of making good decisions, staying out of trouble, not doing 37 keg stands on the weekend, those college things that can take place, but understanding that people are counting on you and you have to have strong character and make good decisions, because you got to get up and do a long run on Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m. and be disciplined and have that structure in your life, which I think that's a lot of what it's about. It's about building culture, building lifelong skills that create success, and being able, when your character is tested, to make good decisions, which ultimately leads to success when you're under pressure and things. If you do things right, when your back's against the wall, you're going to be successful, whether win or lose. But they'll carry on, and you become leaders. So developing that leadership, making good decisions, culture, family, that environment, but them accepting each other and starting to do things on their own. So just putting those things into place, and sometimes it's hard conversations of telling them, no, you can't do that. It's not necessarily being athlete-centered in the sense of, hey, that's not good. You can't do that. Or maybe not everyone buys in, and they decide to leave because they don't want to work hard. And it's hard to win. It's one of the hardest things to do. So you can't always make it easy and do the easy things and things that people like. It has to be hard. The hard is what wins. So that's hard decisions, hard work, and discipline. So,
would you say that's your coaching philosophy, or would you say that's just an aspect within your coaching philosophy?
Yeah, I think it's a lot about being individualized, athlete-centered, but making it a team culture where they believe in each other. I think that's a big part of the culture, and then having that discipline in place. But ultimately, I only see them for 2 hours a day or so, or sometimes maybe even less, or sometimes a little bit more. But that's what they do away from here is what creates winners, right? Yeah. So. And being good teammates and so forth. So those decisions outside of practice ultimately determine winning.
For sure. So season's about to start. Can you give us kind of a preview of the upcoming season?
Yeah. So, both teams, actually conference rankings came out yesterday, the day before. So we're one on both sides. So we're favored to win on both sides. I don't think that really means much. There's really good teams. Benedictine's traditionally good. Park's really good. We add new teams with William Woods and Missouri Baptist. They've, I think, on both sides, maybe had some teams that have made the national championships in the past. So it's very, very competitive. I think for us is we're just focusing on the process of getting to October and November healthy and fit, and then and learning from each race prior to conference. and hopefully nationals, and getting better. And seeing where we are, seeing what our new team, where some of the new athletes. I think on the men's side, we have a really good freshman class that will have some guys that will make a splash immediately and a huge impact. And a lot of our returners have worked extremely hard and are coming in super fit. That we're in a good spot, but it's a new team, it's a new year. So we're kind of trying to figure that out. And same with the ladies. We have a lot of really great experience returning 4 of our top 5. So piecing that together, and it's hard to win one. It's even harder to win another. So, and we weren't supposed to do it last year. Now we're, instead of being the hunter, we're the hunted. So we have to understand with recognition comes responsibility, and that's a strong responsibility to each other, to Mount Mercy, to the program, to continue to do that. So we have to work extremely hard to put ourselves in position to do that and make good decisions and take one day at a time. Make sure we execute today the best we can do it, and then move on to the next day and not look too far ahead. So that's the big thing, especially in cross country. And when you're talking about training and long distance, it's about, hey, if it's a hard day and it's supposed to be hard, we got to do that. If it's a recovery day, we have to do that correctly and not go too hard, and so forth, and have that fine line and balance, and make sure, most importantly, that they're finding balance in their lifestyles too. So they're focusing on their schoolwork, having balance with family, spiritually, all that kind of stuff, because all those things play a contributing factor as the year goes on and to success. So I want them to be balanced all the way around as people, so they're ready to go and strong in character, mind, body, and spirit when it matters.
You talk about like being hunting versus being hunted. Going into the season, it's like, since both men's and women's won, what's the message to the team to like keep them like focused? Like, you can't get distracted by the last season championship.
Yeah, I think they know. We don't have to talk about it much because they know. They know last year was really good. They have a lot of respect for the other teams in our conference. We don't even have to talk about it as much. Like, nice. They know the expectations. They know how hard it was last year and how we were perfect on both sides. I don't know. I'm going into my 20th year. I don't think I've ever been in a meet where everyone was perfect on both genders like it was last year. So that's rare. So in order to do it again, you have to almost anticipate something may not go right, but someone else has to step up. So everyone is very important. And there's a lot of little things that you have to do along the way to be ready and be ready to step up if your name's called or it's that time in the race. But yeah, I'm trying to think here. Their attitudes in the room when we have team meetings and when we're talking, they want to win. Nice. We have practice at 6:30 in the morning right now. Majority of them are there rolling out, doing our stretches or our warm-up stuff by 6:15 to be out the door by 6:30. And we talked about that in camp. And I did it very briefly, and the next day everyone's there, and even Coach Sheckel's walking up. He's like, they're going out already? They're already doing this? And I walk in, and they're doing it on their own. So, and that's even freshmen just coming in, starting to do stuff. So there's not a lot of discussion that's taking place. That's a sign of a championship team. But I always say we got to stack one day at a time. So it's like stacking pennies. They're not pretty. They're not the favorite coin by anybody, but you stack them day by day by day, little by little by little. Then they become dollars. Now you're building the foundation to success, and you're saving that money, and it's becoming a little more pretty every day. But you got to work really, really hard to get some green. So
nice. I like that.
You mentioned how your athletes are walking that fine line, and so a little bit about attitude. Like, along that type of path, what would you say the biggest challenge is coaching this sport?
Yeah, probably the mental side, because you can be great in practice, but then all of a sudden you get to meets, and it's different, right? You get blinders. It's not like practice where you're just relaxed. So, and I think I've said this, especially with our guys team. They're different than they were a year ago. Some of them have gotten a lot better. And I bank more on training when we talk in our conversation as opposed to races. But I was like, we have to be better at racing. We have to be more confident with racing, and a little more aggressive and so forth. So developing that mindset that you are good, and what you think is good is not really good. There's another step. There's another page. So don't settle for that. And I've coached some teams and some athletes, and we always have a saying, what's next? Okay, you accomplished something. You became an All-American. You won a conference championship. You ran a PR, whatever it is, but what's next? It's not good enough until your career is over with. Then you can rest. So I think it's challenging them that way and getting them to believe that, yeah, you're running well or you're running fast, but there's another fast that's even better. And until you're winning and beating everyone, every day is about getting better and becoming really, really good. And you have to believe that and do so, or, it's probably not a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Nice. So this is a question by your runner, Quinn Swift. He wants to know, where do you get your training philosophies from, and can you describe what your training philosophy is?
Yeah, I mean, we're very aerobic, so aerobic development, so we want to do things with oxygen. When you're out there running a 6K or 8K, you're not running all out, right? So it's not anaerobic. You're not running without oxygen. So you have to teach your body to do a lot of things with oxygen and be able to do it for a long period of time. So, we can't be like this with our training. We kind of need to be a little even but up. So, I always say, like, we should be training 100%. Or 100% should maybe be 80% over a long period of time, and you're going to develop. So it takes time. Now, there's certain things you have to do to get there, and race pace stuff and so forth. But so it's aerobic development approach where you're gradually increasing intensity, gradually increasing your mileage, and developing over a period of time. So it takes time. So I always tell freshmen, you may come in, you may get results right away in the first 6 months, and then you might stay there for another 6 months. I don't know. But then the next year you may make a huge jump. So you may be here, you may get a jump. You may be here for a while and jump up again. That's the right way to do things, instead of just having a jump and then you decline. So there's no declining in our program. It's always growing or staying the same and being consistent. And if you're healthy, you're gonna grow and so forth. So that's part of the thing too. So we can have guys run 80, 90 miles a week. We could have guys run 50 miles a week. They could be getting the same result, but maybe they're a little more injury prone. Maybe I got to get them a day off. So that's where the athlete center, little individualizing comes in. But we also try to bring that in within a team culture, within workouts where we can combine things where people are working together, because on race day, especially in cross country, the team aspect, they have to be able to work together, know each other a little bit. But then sometimes on recovery days, everyone recovers different. Some guys may run faster, some may run slower. We talk about their heart rate and different things. So I have a bunch of different influences from college coaches to some elite coaches and so forth, and that I developed throughout the years. And it seems like a good formula of success. And so that's a little bit about it, but I can't share everything because you never know who's watching. They're going to steal it,
Oh, for sure.
Well, with what you can,
So I would have to lie.
with what you can share, how does that same philosophy help transition your athletes into track from
Yeah.
cross country?
Well, yeah. No, I mean, you got to be strong. So NAI track, whether you're running a conference meet and you're some of the better runners, you need to run multiple events to help your team, right? So you have to be strong. You have to be able to run fast 2 or 3 races, right? If you make the national championships, you got to be able to run a prelim and a final. So you can't just you can run awesome and win your prelim. You could also not be an All-American in the final if you're not really fit. So that's where the aerobic development comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, within the aerobic development, we're always working on speed, power, and things for neuromuscular response for speed and power later on. So we're working on race pace, things like that. So every event is a little different, but as a collection, if you're developing right, I think we develop every aspect of speed to endurance. And every individual is a little bit different. Some people have a few more tools in their box than others, and some of that's God-given, and I don't have control over that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are just naturally a little bit faster, and that's the way it is. You can work on it, but so that's all.
100%. Has there been a coach or just anybody in general who's had a large impact on making you the coach you are?
I think I've been blessed with, and I'm talking all the way back to youth sports, or grade school. I've had a collection of really good coaches with being highly motivated, to people motivating you to work individually on sports, I was a big basketball guy before I was even into running. One thing I loved about that is you could always go shoot. You could always go work on your dribbling. I remember I'm only about 5'8", so if I was going to play in high school, you're going to be a good defender. You're going to dive after every ball. You're going to outwork people and not make mistakes. So ball handling drills, playing defense, and being able to shoot free throws at the end of the game, you're going to play a lot if you make good decisions, right? And don't turn the ball over. So I had great influences there, and then getting into cross country and stuff like that. I had a great high school coach who's really motivating. He could give speeches like none other, and so forth, and just so yeah. I've just had a lot of really collection of good coaches in all kinds of sports that have guided me, and so forth. So I think in any sport you got to be motivated. You got to be you got to hate losing, and you can't. You always want to get your athletes to buy in. You want to listen to them. You want to be supportive. You want to encourage them. Everyone's a little bit different. Some of them you could yell at, a little bit more cheer. Some you just got to talk to. I think it's just understanding how everyone ticks. I think that's the art of coaching. I think distance running, it's not just a science. There's an art, especially at our level, because not everyone's the same. You can't do the same with every athlete. So that's where the athlete center stuff comes in, and and just kind of outwork people and know your group, learn your group, develop the relationships with your team. I think is really important. I think I always had great influences that developed good relationships with, and they would coach me along, and they were good coaches because they tell you when you were doing wrong too, or if you're acting like a dirtbag, they tell you you're acting like a dirtbag, and they you straighten up your act, right? So.
You said you got called dirtbag a lot?
No, not too often, but probably a couple times along the way in my young days.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned your training style of how you have them somewhat stay at a level and then build. How does that help bring other athletes in? So how does that help with recruiting and different things like that?
Yeah, that's what we're going through right now. Mount Mercy has had some success before, especially with some individuals, some amazing individuals. But getting it to be a premier program in Iowa, you got to have good teams. And you got to do it year after year to establish that, to get a base of Iowa kids to come in, right? That's ultimately what you want. You want to get an Iowa contingency here where kids want to come here. So you have to create that culture of winning, and that's tough. That's a tough thing to do. But so that's currently what we're going through. So it's going out, getting the right kids that fit Mount Mercy first. They have to be good Mount Mercy fit, and then getting them to buy in, and then hopefully they can spread the word for you too. I think we have, especially a lot of girls and guys that are, after a couple of years, they've had some success here, and I think people in their hometown see it, and they're like, oh, that's good. And then within their conferences or districts in high school, they're starting to see that. So we have to continue little by little every year, but you have to maintain. So you can't have drops, so that develops a reputation and a culture of winning, and they're like, hey, maybe I need to look at that school a little bit more. And then it becomes more sustainable, right? So hopefully getting those Midwest kids, developing that sustainability, and then the culture builds and builds. You get a little more every year, and keep having good success. And kids go home happy, and they're like, hey, this is a good place. I'm getting better. I'm getting a great education. I have good teammates. I'm learning a lot from my coaches, developing good leadership skills. It's a positive experience. Cedar Rapids is an awesome place where you can grow, develop as a person and professionally. That, hey, this is a great place. This is a winning place, So that's kind of what we're after right now, is just kind of word of mouth and just little by little. And it's not going to happen overnight, I can come in here and say, hey, I did this at St. Francis. Cool. No one cares. This is Iowa. This is Mount Mercy. We need to develop that type of success here, but do it the Mount Mercy way through the great things that we can offer on campus, Cedar Rapids, with the alumni throughout Cedar Rapids, and show them that this is an amazing place that where winners go, people graduate, they become good leaders, good contributors to the community, to Iowa, across the country, wherever they're at. And if we can do that, it will be a strong, sustainable program for a very long time.
How would you measure that success? Is it from the wins? Is it from times? Or is it just the development of the individual?
I think it's development of the individual and the people. The winning comes from the work, right? And sometimes you don't win, and whatever, who cares? But it's developing leaders and strong work ethic, right? And sometimes that's, hey, you're working hard, you're achieving things, whatever. But sometimes there's people along the way that don't belong in that culture, and they have to leave, and that's okay. That doesn't make them bad people. They just don't want to work hard at the activity that you're doing. So you got to get the right folks in there that want to work the same way, that believe in the same things, and develop that, and then they graduate and they become good leaders and so forth. But yeah, it's developing the whole person.
Okay.
Nice. I think you've already touched on this, but when you are recruiting, what's something you look for in the athlete?
Yeah. No, there's a lot. I mean, obviously you go out and you watch the way they run and stuff, but then you see how they interact with their coaches, their parents, how they talk, all that kind of stuff. Obviously kids got social media, so you look at their social media. But I tell you what, we brought in, there's about 4 or 5 freshman guys that we got in, and they're outstanding people. Knock on wood, they stay that way. But I mean, they're some of the first people at practice, last people to leave. Good work ethic, good strong values, from their parents, the way that they act, their academics. So you're just looking at the total picture, and hopefully you can not strike out on it,
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
If you weren't coaching cross country, what would be your replacement for it?
gosh.
I mean, you already made it to coaching for 20 years at
Yeah.
the minimum, if not more.
Yeah.
So is there something else you would be doing instead?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't know. I've been doing it forever. That I don't know, but I coach youth sports, coach my son and my daughter, probably in running and stuff like that. Youth baseball. I think that's my favorite hobby in the summer, is especially this last summer, just doing that kind of stuff, and then being with my family doing that. But in terms of work, yeah, I have no clue. Been locked into it since 2005. Even I coached high school in 2003 too. So I mean, it's been going on for a long time. So something fun and just a part of you, and so forth. So it's enjoyable, rewarding, and challenging. Every year is a challenge. So like when you start a new year, it's like this is a new group. How I coached in 2003, 5, 2012. It's totally different. How you talk to athletes, how they act. You went through the COVID period in 2020. That was different. Now the athletes are different. So I think there's years I was probably loud and crazy, and then there's years I'm calm, and you probably get the same results. But always treating the athletes the same, though. I don't think that's ever changed.
Okay.
Just the way you communicate is probably a little bit different.
For sure.
And evolving. Yeah.
Nice. What's your favorite part of the sport of cross country?
Compared to track, it's over a lot quicker. You're not there all day, and you're outside. When you wake up on a Saturday morning and it's in November, October, it's a little chilly, you go outside and, you have the elements of nature and so forth. And in the team aspect, you have to get, 5, 7 guys or 5, 7 girls to work together, to gel together on the same day is really hard in the sport of running. You can wake up, they can have a cold, they can step in a hole, they could eat something wrong that day. Who knows what can go wrong? There's a lot of different things that can go wrong, but getting them to come together to be successful on the same day, that's really, really challenging and hard to do. So I enjoy that, and I enjoy the cross country is a tough sport. It's kind of weird. You got these skinny guys wearing short shorts and girls out there running, and it starts at once and they all kind of clobber together, and it's like it's a battle. It's like a war. Like who can out tough the other person, and it's you got to be a tough individual, strong. So it's exciting to see who can if you can be successful and come out on top. That there's a lot that goes into that, So it's fun, and it's not 12 hours being at a track meet with Coach Shekel. I mean, that ain't fun. eating little sack lunches, it's not fun. Shekel turkey sandwiches aren't good.
Nice.
Well, we appreciate you joining us today. Good luck in your season, and the first race is September 5th or 6th.
Or August 29th. A week
August
from
29th.
Friday.
Sorry, my bad.
That's okay.
August 29th out at Seminole Valley.
Yep.
So come on out, watch our cross country team race, and encourage them on. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.